Welcome back into another edition of Mavs Latest. I'm Josyah Howard, and before we get things started today, please subscribe down below. I cover the Mavericks every single day here on Mavs Latest, so subscribe for the latest here and the newest episodes dropping here. So please subscribe down below. But we've been talking a lot about LeBron James and his potential interest in the Dallas Mavericks, and lately it seems like the Mavericks are shutting down all of that. Please catch the last episode, the very last episode. I discussed that where the Mavericks seem not interested, and at least for now, the Mavericks are not trading for LeBron James, but the Athletics' John Hollinger, he shed some light into what LeBron's thought process was before he opted into his $52 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. And uh, Hollinger says, in particular, the whispers about him leaving, uh, the whispers about him having eyes for Dallas, a place where he could team up with former teammate Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis and play with a young phenom in Cooper Flag before opting into this deal, was too hard to ignore. Obviously, James wasn't willing to leave $52 million on the table and take a non-tax player minimum level exception. But it seems similar from the Mavericks or another team. A buyout seems very unlikely. Additionally, tax aprons on both sides will make any in-season transaction with a contender class team challenging. Um, and yes, I've been saying this from the start. LeBron, one, isn't leaving money on the table, a lot of money. He's not leaving a lot of money on the table. That's ridiculous. And especially if this year he comes off another all NBA level season, I wouldn't want him to leave money on the table. You pay for what not only you're doing, but what you plan to give. And obviously, as a 40-year-old man, people expect him to probably take a dip here pretty soon. But a LeBron dip to me is like 20 points a game, almost 10 assists. Like the points start to really dip a little bit, but I don't see him really going under 20 points per game. Um, and if his points dip, that means he's probably facilitating a lot more, so those assist numbers are going to go up. I just think a quote unquote older or washed LeBron per se is still going to be a possibly all-star level player, and maybe not all NBA player like he was last year, but I just don't think people understand that LeBron's ultimate final dip is not going to be as low as you think it's going to get. And that means there is value to bringing him in, possibly as even a 42-year-old, especially, and this is a caveat, if your goal is to win a championship right now. You don't bring LeBron James in if you don't want to win right now. So Nico Harrison is going to have to sit, and it's not going to probably be this season, probably next offseason, and say to himself, is winning a championship right now more important or building what we already have more important? It's definitely something to think about. And the championship is what has the Mavericks focus, especially with trading Luka Doncic, especially just losing the championship a couple years ago to the Boston Celtics. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. It seems like this LeBron story with Dallas is definitely dwindling down here a little bit until we can get some more information. But one trade rumor that caught my eye, the New York Knicks, yes, the team that we've brought up a decent amount here on the Mavs latest pod, as they've tried to take most of Dallas Mavericks coaching staff, including head coach Jason Kidd. But in this instance, the rumor is for center Karl Anthony Towns. And in this trade proposal, the Mavericks will receive Karl Anthony Towns and Vit Krejcik. I'm sorry, I can't really pronounce that. I'm sorry if I butchered that. The Knicks would get Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, and the Hawks would get Caleb Martin, a second round pick, and 2 second round picks, excuse me. Um, they would need the third team to obviously facilitate this with the second apron and all that. But in theory, you're saying Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, and PJ Washington for Klay Thompson, in my mind. That's how I'm viewing it. You're giving a couple second round picks, but I don't view that as really anything. First of all, I wouldn't do this. Um, first of all, I wouldn't move off of Klay, who has championship pedigree, for Karl-Anthony Towns, who again showed something in these playoffs where he's not just that guy that's going to disappoint you in the playoffs. He's going to have a couple up and down games. You have to expect that from him. But I think he's at a different gear in the playoffs, and he's not necessarily that guy who's going to fail you all the time. But I'm not trading that for someone that I know in the playoffs in the bright spot. Outside of that last game with Golden State, obviously, where he had 0. But Klay knows how to play in those moments. And then you have Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, who were on the roster when the Dallas Mavericks last went to the finals. And I think a lot of that's important, to have some of the guys that were on that first finals run to still be on the roster, because they got the taste what it felt like to be right at the end of the finish line there. And you need some people in the locker room that felt that defeat and want more and yearn to get back to the finals and right that wrong of losing in the NBA finals. So fun trade proposal for Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously a big name in the NBA, but this is not something I would do. I would not disrupt the core of the team in order to make this deal. Again, on paper, you're like Karl-Anthony Towns. He's 20-13 on the season. I don't know necessarily if that he fits amazing with Anthony Davis. Yes, he spreads the floor shooting wise. Yes. But Anthony Davis also kind of wants to spread the floor. He doesn't always want to be back to the basket in the paint. He does sometimes. I think he doesn't get enough credit for when he does. But I just don't think that's also as great a fit as people think it would be on paper. So, fun trade rumor. But at the end of the day, New York, you could keep Karl-Anthony Towns. Um, Now, another one I wanted to mention, because I love when people have good news about the people we're covering. And, Flau'jae Johnson, guard for LSU, she joined the Club Shay Shay podcast with Uncle Shannon Sharp. And she revealed that she has a pretty close relationship with Mavs guard Klay Thompson. And she said that she expressed her admiration for his game and asked if she could observe his training routine. And she says, I text Klay Thompson because I've always been impressed with his balance and his footwork. I would really like to come and just watch you work. I was like, I want to watch you work. Klay hit me and he was like, when I get back to Dallas, we can definitely get some shots up. So I kind of have been reaching out. She also says, just Klay's message to Flau'jae as they was it's excuse me. She says, "It's so cool being respected by your peers. I just want to learn, especially in basketball. I just want to learn. I just want to sit around like what's your routine and ask questions." Um Again, I think people that are most successful in their lives and their careers are when they see excellent people doing the thing that they want to do, and they ask really good questions of, "Hey, how did you become this great? I want to be as great as you. How do you do it?" Um, it's simple, and I think basketball players now more than ever are willing to do it. I don't think 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, competitors were as willing to help their counterparts grow. Obviously, it's a little different because it's intergender, but it's still, people weren't as willing to just help the next generation. And I think that's something that gets more criticized in the NBA than people don't get enough flowers for it. I think, there's a thing to having enough healthy competition, but at the same time giving back to the next group. And it seems like Klay is helping Flau'jae do that. But she also says she had a surprise encounter with Kyrie Irving at Summer League. She said, "Oh my gosh, I met Kyrie Irving yesterday and it was so cool. He's like I really respect what you do. I love your raps. I love your basketball." And then I was talking to one of his affiliates, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get you and Kyrie in the gym, and I'm not trying to like tweak out, but I'm like, cool. I'm geeked. Cool. Like, congratulations to Flau'jae because these are two guys in terms of if you want a shooting regimen and if you want a ball handling regimen, these might be the two guys, maybe outside of Steph Curry for literally both of those workouts. But in terms of separately, she couldn't have found two better talents in terms of getting her right in those skill sets. So cool to see all of this, and again, cool to see Kyrie and Klay making positive news as of late. And um, some people don't necessarily react to positive news, but I do. I think people deserve good stuff to be reported on and talked about. So again, cool for Flau'jae for showing love to Klay and Kyrie, and I hope they've been able to work out and get to the gym, and I hope she has a great senior season at LSU. But to wrap things up with some Mavs chatter, I do want to again, we're talking about Klay Thompson, and at the Rangers game, he on Monday he was at Globe Life Field, and it was Dallas Mavericks night. The Texas Rangers were facing off against the Athletics. Another Dallas team is getting some love inside the building, obviously, and Klay Thompson was in the building and he threw the first pitch while wearing a batting helmet, which is kind of funny. Klay obviously having a pretty nice sense of humor. Um, and he threw a strike to Tony Beasley for the ceremonial first pitch. So shout out to Klay because sometimes those first pitches don't end well and you end up being a meme, you end up getting viral. So shout out to Klay Thompson at Mavericks night for the Texas Rangers. But this has been Mavs Latest. I'm Josyah Howard. Please subscribe down below. Please leave any comments down below. And let's get it, y'all.